Welcome to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. For the next hour, you'll hear proven methods for how to live the multiple income streams dream. Ryan is passionate about helping others discover their gifts and start their own business. He's published 5 books, and his courses and group coaching programs have changed the lives of thousands of students all over the world. Ryan's books include Private Label, The Easy Way, Finding Your Grace Place, and his latest, Streams of Income. And now, here's your host, Ryan Rieger.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and today we're chatting with Thom Golden, Dr. Thom Golden of Golden Educational Consulting. He has an awesome story. What he does is he helps students and families prepare for college. He coaches them through the admission process, deciding on a school, deciding what classes to take and all that. And you just never know where these episodes, these interviews are going to end up. But he has a fascinating story of how he built that business, how he started it, how he took the leap from being in the university space. And he looked at his time and he was like, man, I got 2 young boys and I'm not spending very much time with them. So we talked about how he was able to make that leap into a new venture. He talked about how he had at the time Purposeful Unrest. So such a good term, where he just knew that this wasn't where he was going to be forever, and he was looking for something different. So we went through on how he made that decision, how he had the courage to make that step into his own business. He also said something so awesome when he was building his business that he has now. He said agile development, and I asked him if that's equivalent to building the plane while you're flying. He said, kinda, but a better term would be that you're building a car by building a skateboard first. And that is so good, guys. I mean, a lot of people think that you have to start a business, that you got to do a business plan, you got to go borrow money, and you got to spend, all this time and energy and effort into starting something. Why don't you test it out first? Why don't you try it out first? And the way he did that was he just started having conversations with people. He started just talking to his ideal client. And then he how do I feel after walking away from that call? Or was I energized or drained? And he just found out he loved working with students and their families. It energized him and he could help them. So he talked to them first. That is so awesome. Just go talk to the people that you feel called to serve. Who do you feel like you are on this planet to serve? Go find them. Go talk to them. Do they have pain points? Do they have needs that you can fill, that you can meet? There's your business right there. So this was so good. I know you're going to love this interview. Here it is. Dr. Thom, welcome to Streams of Income.
It's absolute pleasure, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate being on the show.
And so fun to meet you through Jason Elkins, our mutual friend. You said you've been in he's your primary business coach?
Yeah. So I say that I hired Jason before I had a business, and and before I had income, because before anything was coming in, because I knew the importance of coaching. Coaching is so critical. This. A lot of people, ask me well, I'm getting started with a business. Should I start with a website? Should I start with an LLC? It's like, no. You need to surround yourself with people who know how to do this, who've been doing this. And Jason's great. Jason, I like his approach to different things. I like his approach to just how to engage with people, hear their stories. It's really important to what we do.
It is, and I'm just going to try to find real quick what episode he was in so I can reference it. It was episode 190, guys, 190, March 31st. But, Thom, I love hearing people's stories. It's just super fun to hear how people got to where they are. So tell us yours.
Yeah, so my background is in education. So I just was an absolute fan of higher education. When I was in undergrad, I went to undergrad at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. Mm-hmm. And, somewhere in my senior year, all my mentors were working for the university, and I had a background in education to work at universities. I'm like, well, that'd be kind of fun. So sought out a master's program in student affairs administration, and met my wife who was in the same program.
Awesome.
After we graduated at Ohio State, went and worked at Purdue University in admissions. I did not think I would land in admissions. I thought it would be a very short-term stint. People who work in university admissions don't tend to like target that.
Yeah.
They just sort of find their way there, but they loved it. Admissions was the right sort of mix for me of obviously university life and marketing, and it's got a very competitive business side to it. From there, my dean became the dean at Vanderbilt University, and so I worked in admissions all total for about 15 years. And somewhere in that range, in that time frame, you're on this progression, leading up in that business. The next sort of step is to lead an admissions shop or be a vice president at a university, and it just sort of, I kept getting a sort of inside feeling that just wasn't the right fit for me. Admissions world can be very difficult.
Yeah.
It is especially difficult if you have a family. And so, I sort of was sort of tallying up the hours of time that I wasn't spending with my young family. I have three boys. At the time, they were very young. And, made the mistake one evening of pulling together, a spreadsheet, because why not, of how many hours I'd seen my boys. And it was very bad. It was very bad. And I knew, like, well, I can't do this. I gotta figure out my own path. I gotta figure out what, I gotta do something that at least allows me to stay home. There are people who do this, right? There's like, it's the whole argument. There are people who are smarter than who figured this out.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is I kind of had this feeling that I needed to start my own thing, but I had no idea how to do that. And working at a university, that is, your authority comes from that institution. Mm-hmm. You walk in the door, you've got a name badge on, or, you got a business card in your hand, like the institution is the authority. Yes. And I had no idea how to establish that for myself. And so I needed to go and find out how to do that. So I started interacting with entrepreneurs, and I found this great opportunity to be a vice president of data science. I worked on the data side in admissions, vice president of data science at a company called Capture Higher Ed in Louisville, Kentucky. They do great work. They do a lot of data work, software, and led their what was called Capture Labs, which was their data science group there. And it was a small sort of startup-y, very scrappy, lots of education. I mean, I learned a ton. And you just learn from people who build businesses for a living. Like they're just different. This, like they're just different. And I learned how to take an idea and how to productize it, and learned all of that stuff. And at the same time, I started working with families here locally in Nashville, where I live. Mm-hmm. And trying to help educate them on the college admissions process. We can definitely talk about that more, but and started to build that up using the things that I had learned. And now went to that full time in 2019. We now have a team that's all over the country. We have a team of 4 folks who work with nearly 100 families all across the country. We have them in multiple states, helping them navigate the admissions and financial aid process.
Wow, that's amazing, man. You started in 2019.
Full time 2019. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think as things do in startups, things just sort of went a little sideways, and I needed to kind of make the transition quickly. We went from having a very small, it was a side business. We needed to ramp it up in a matter of 9 months. Yeah, quadrupled the number of families we were working with, and then had to shift our thinking, which I would love to kind of walk you through how we sort of did that to scale it, because it doesn't scale with just me and one person. And so we started thinking about how to do that, and saw some pretty great results just in a short amount of time, and using some principles that we can definitely talk about. And wow. And so now we're looking to continue to grow and help more people along this path of what we call health-based college coaching. And we're having a good time doing it.
So much we can dive into here. I know there's probably a lot of people, especially, you and I are both dads and husbands, and it's easy to feel the pressure of providing for our family. You could have easily, Thom, just stayed at that job at the college and been unhappy. And I think a lot of people do that. Talk to that guy that's there right now. It's like, yeah, man, I wish I had the same courage that Dr. Thom did. How did you What do you remember? I'm sure you remember that time well. What were some of the feelings that you had? How did you get over the fact of like, well, this is safe. I may not be super happy here, but this is safe. It's providing for my family. Like how did you get that impetus or that what motivate? Obviously, time with your boys motivated you, but how did you make that first step and get over that fear?
Yeah, man, and I think that sometimes that courage, or I guess what is seen as courage, gets sort of romanticized as if it's something out there that I wish I had, and things like that. No, it's much less pretty than that. Like you spend a time, once you kind of have this realization that there's risk on any side. There's risk if I stay. Right. Because if I hate this, what happens to me health wise? Like I could keel over at my desk, at 45, right? There's risk if I stay, there's risk if I go. So once you sort of get past that, then you start asking the question of what's next. Now for me, if you're like me, I spent a good solid 2 to 3 years, just sort of in my own crap. Yeah. Honestly, this sort of like fits and starts. Oh, I could do that. And then you investigate and you realize that's not what you want to do. So it's much less of this linear period of time. I came to call it this sort of purposeful unrest that had a purpose for me. Yeah. Purposeful unrest. Like I knew something was off. I knew I was moving towards it. Yes. And I tried to be okay with not exactly knowing the how. I just needed to understand what would really drive me. Yeah. And obviously time with my family clearly was a big part of that. Yeah. I think for me, I really kind of focused in on, really two kind of questions. Number one, and the most important, like, who do I want to serve? Like who do I want to serve? Like, who am I on this earth to serve? Like who when I am sitting down and talking to them, because you sometimes just help people. If you're a CFO, sometimes a friend has a college graduate who's thinking of going into finance, and you're just having a chat with them about it, and you realize maybe in that exact moment, like, I really like this and I'm really good at this. Like I could help people just like this. I could go in and teach, or I could go into financial counseling. I could do all like you have an experience where it tells you, like, I could serve and help these people. Yes. So that's number one. And number two is, who do I need to become to be able to really serve those people, not just on a satisfactory level, but like to a world-class level? Like, what do I need to learn? What do we need to do? So I really kind of focused a lot on that education piece. And that's what led me to work in that company. That was an interim step for me because I realized I did not have the requisite knowledge to be able to move into it. And plus, it's just smarter to be able to build up a business while you also have it. Yeah. When you moved over to that company, did you have this grand plan that someday you'd have this company you now have? Or, you already knew this was a step towards you having your own business? Correct. I mean, I didn't exactly have it mapped out like, it's going to be this business. I knew it was. I knew it could potentially be college coaching. We tried that sort of out. I believe very much also in the idea of, like, this is what I learned at the software company, like prototyping, agile development. Like, you just sort of try something out, test it, put something out there, see what the response is. You don't have to have this grand cascading plan. You just have to have a core concept of who do I want to serve and what do they need and how can I provide it. And if I don't know how to provide it, how do I go and be relentless in educating myself on that? Yes. So cool. So the whole idea of courage is more something that you build rather than you just sort of have or you don't have. It's just but it comes down to just that, the individuals the students that I was interacting with as a part of my job is in the admissions world were really struggling. Yes. 55% of high achieving high school students, report that they're experiencing chronic stress on a day-to-day basis. And the greatest, reason for that is not only academic success, but in terms of what that academic success or lack of it might mean for college, And so, 26% of students are reporting, clinical level of significant depression. So you're dealing with a sort of mental health crisis, and I knew I could help those students because there's in the college space, there's a lot of really good news, right? There's 2/3 of colleges admit, excuse me, sorry, I misquoted that. Back it up. Sorry, edit that. there's a lot of really good news when it comes to like what's actually real in terms of like college admissions. Like, the average college admits 75% or more of their applicants, right? There's, the vast majority of students indicate that they're going to college at their first choice college. 55% are going to their top choice college. So what are people worried about? There's this vague unease. And I think, that stress, not that it's not real, it's just that we can help students by helping them understand the process better. We can help them building up their skills. So that's when I was sitting there thinking, well, I could stay in this job for 20 years, or I can go do that thing.
This is when you were when you were in Vanderbilt. Okay. When you were there, what are some of the things that you tried that didn't work? Like, I love how you said you just test things. And I want to get to how you did that with your new business, because that's so powerful that a lot of people just sit around thinking, I could do this and do this and do this, but never try anything because they're scared. And it sounded like you weren't scared to try stuff, which is awesome. So what are some of those things that you tried before moving to the Lexington company that didn't work?
Yeah, great question. So I, spent some time talking to individuals about like leadership education, leadership training. That was an aspect that I had some experience in. Okay. And so a few conversations did never really advance because I realized as I was going through these conversations that there just wasn't a spark for me. This has been
that's good.
So training people in higher education. That was a big part of like that some people.
And you tested out by just having some conversations with potential people who would be clients. That's awesome. And I'm literally what I'm managing. I knew I could do it. I mean, I knew I could do it. I could sell it. I could make some money from doing it. But what I was measuring, it was like, how am I feeling when I'm doing this? Am I like really like pumped to do this? That's really good.
And because I'm a big believer that you gotta do what makes you come alive. Otherwise, this is a short stint, man. You're gonna be hating. You're gonna build a successful business that you're gonna hate in 18 months. And so, what do you do then, right? Everybody's like, oh, well, I'll be successful then, and I'll sell it, and I'll get it. Okay, well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll just walk out one day and never come back. And so, I look at this as I'm test driving it for my own energy as well as just, what am I seeing from the person I'm talking to?
That's so awesome.
I mean, I certainly looked into, I think what a lot of people look into, which is online selling. I looked into, real estate and other things. Again, those things never really went that far down the path, and I think in my head, I always sort of knew that it was probably going to be in the college admissions space. And, that's what led me to that company. It's what led me to it. So cool. But again, I want to go back to it's not like I just sort of woke up one day and said, I'm going to do this, and I just go in and hand it in. It was hard. It's hard because I was good at my job. I worked for some amazing people. It's not like the trope, this job sucks, I'm walking out of here, forget it, and I'm going to go do my own thing. It was not that straightforward. It was very difficult.
Which makes it even harder because it's not a situation you had to flee from. You just knew inside you weren't happy. Man, there's so much good advice here. It's like the fact that you just started talking to the people who would have been your clients in that leadership space, and you didn't spend money to build a website. You didn't put together a business plan. That's so great because people think, oh man, if I'm going to start a business, I have to, go mortgage my house to start this thing. And then, oh man, that wasn't the right thing. You just just go have conversations with the people you think you can serve. And if during that call or after that call, it's like, oh, that's not it. Or you come out of that drained, that's not it for you. But if you come away like, that was the best thing ever. Yes. That's a clue that might be your thing.
Yeah. You can't stop thinking about it. And the person you're talking to maybe follows up directly with you like a couple of days later going, that thing we were talking about, like I ran at the flagpole. We really need it. Can you do it? And then you're doing is you're actually then building that initial prototype. So like I said, I wouldn't have built it. None of the stuff the program that we built, we had some ideas around it, but we built it for a person.
Yes.
And then you
found the person first, and then you built
it for a paying client.
Wow. Okay. So when you were sitting there at the company,
by doing so, you're automatically catered. Yeah. It's Louisville. Yeah, a company in Louisville. I got it for my Kentucky Commonwealth family. Like, yep, got to get that right. Yeah. So again, this is sort of a bit of the technique that we learned there, which is you go out, you commit minimal amount of code, enough that it's worthwhile, and you enough to be able to say, okay, look, we've heard you, this is a problem. So there's a lot of discovery that goes on in terms of what are you experiencing, what are you seeing. And then it's okay, well, we're working on this solution here. Here, take a look at it, and then sort of gathering really key markers of like what would be for them, a definition of success. Yeah. Because sometimes you start off on a project and you assume that the client really wants X, and you spend a lot of money to get to X, and then you get to X and you realize they didn't want X, they wanted Y, and it might even been that they told you they wanted X a month ago, but now stuff's pivoted, and so now you have to do something different. Yeah. And so this idea of being very short cycles of development, short cycles of iterations, it's a lot of things. Again, it's movement that's really referred to as agile development, but you can apply it to all kinds of different things. For us, it was about, okay, what are people really needing? Okay, well, they need help with picking out classes. So that was something that students were like having a lot of questions when they go through high school about what kind of classes can I take that would best set me up for success for this type of major or this kind of college, et cetera. And so, what we did is ran it through our filter of saying, okay, well, that's what they're asking for. But what we're also going to do is we're going to add in a little bit of a component of education. Because a core concept, again, I failed to mention, I should have said this at the beginning. I have a PhD in educational psychology. When I was at Purdue in admissions, I was also getting a PhD in educational psychology, studying adolescent stress and anxiety. So academically, this was my focus. And so, one of the things that you come across in the psychological literature is that stress is a lot of times, built around a lack of resources. The demand for the thing I'm needing to do, the task, outpaces my amount of resources that I feel like I have available. So I'm always at a deficit, and I'm feeling that deficit. And so how can we build that up? And so one of the things that we were noticing is that students are tremendously overwhelmed in terms of their schedule. They just have too much going on their plate, and they don't really have a good method of being able to sort through, should I take this additional class? Because if they were going to go and ask a college, should I take this, AP math class? The answer is going to be yes. Because they don't know. They're just giving advice and saying, to be the most competitive applicant you need to be taking all these classes. Well, that might actually not be a good piece of advice. So we don't know what else is going on. So we created what we call whole student scheduling. It focuses on them mapping out their so a real full audit of what their time looks like, courses, homework, what kind of activities they're involved in, how much screen time they're spending. Like we go through all of it. But while we're doing that, we then introduced this concept out of Stanford called the PDF activities: playtime, downtime, family time. These are 3 areas of time that have been shown to be very protective of students' health and wellness and well-being. So playtime, unstructured time with friends. Okay. Downtime, which is just time to meditate, pray, sleep. Just unstructured time where you're not actually focused on any one thing. And family time with family. So when we're putting together this like calendar for them, like here's what your week looks like, we're inserting that saying, okay, you can't touch that. Okay, that's a block of time you cannot touch. Like, don't tell me that you're going to take this AP class and get less sleep. Like that's not a plan. Yeah. And so we have students go through this exercise. What they asked us was about AP class, but we're saying, cool, we're going to answer that question, but we're also going to add this piece in. Yeah. And it's not onerous. It's not like we're heavy-handed with it. We're like, hey, cool, here, you need to know about this stuff here. So I want them to not only be successful in this college admissions process, but like when they get to college and other things. Yeah. And right. What's funny is like I'll have parents actually fill it out for themselves. Yeah. And, inserting school for work because it's a concept that a lot of parents haven't even seen. So that's an example. We built that for one student who was really just completely overwhelmed. And we're like, okay, we're going to do that and we're going to see how it goes. If they hate it, great. We just built it for one student.
Sure.
I didn't hire anybody for it. We just took a day and built it.
Yeah.
And then, the student loved it, and we've turned it into now a core part of our coaching.
That's incredible. Did you charge that very first client that you had?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. I have toyed around with pro bono, and I've never had the buy-in. Unfortunately, I have had sometimes families where I'll say, I don't care what you pay me. The literally can pay me a couple bucks, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But you got to pay me something
Sure.
for my time. It's something, a psychological exchange.
It is.
But yeah. First client absolutely paid me, and again, use that to pay for some resources. We're still pretty lean in terms of an organization. We don't have a physical front. We do everything via Zoom. And so, the pandemic kind of solidified that as the de facto way communication is happening. I mean, I'll meet a couple times with families. That's fine in person, but mostly it's over Zoom.
Yeah.
And so our overhead is very low. It's a knowledge-based business. And
That's so cool. When you say agile development, is that a way? I've never heard that term. Is that also another way to say that? Would that be building the plane while you're flying it?
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would even back it up to say it's like building a car by building a skateboard first. It's like saying, okay, you need to get from one place to the next place. I could create a plan to create a car, which would involve all these different steps and take a lot longer. But it's like, well, can we get you there on a skateboard? Would that work? Okay, no, you need something a little bit bigger because you need to carry like groceries. Get it? Yes. Okay, now let's try a motorcycle. Let's try these things. So you're you're iterating and building up from there. Yeah. It's sort of, it makes you challenge assumptions. It shortens the cycle between you and the market. And again, the core idea here is that you're building it because someone not specifically asked you, as in like, I want you to build me this thing. It's like, I have this problem, and you have a perspective on it. You've sort of mentally test drove it with them. Like, well, okay, well, what if we built it this way? Yeah. Oh, you would need it to have this? Okay, cool. And then you kind of iterate on it, and you go from there. Start small, build it up from there. I
mean, I know your business is helping students with the admissions process, but what you're providing here is business coaching. And it's really, really, really good. I'm in a process right now of transitioning from, I sold that business that I told you about, the Amazon business, and now I'm moving into this new territory. So I do feel like I'm kind of starting over again. And I've built my business the way you talked about. Like, I just go and do it. I just figure it out. And then I look back and look at what I did. So I love that I'm an action taker. So that's a good thing about me. But like, I'm learning that, like, I feel like I'm always building the plane while I'm flying it, it's great that I'm doing something, but I love how you just identify. I mean, building the car by building a skateboard first. That's brilliant. That's helpful for me right where I'm at right in my current situation. And I know a lot of other business owners that are, this is why I told you I never know how these calls are going to go, and just what you've done. Maybe you see it, but it's brilliant because that's the way to do it. It means, like, I don't have to like go out and borrow a bunch of money and then hope and pray that this new venture works. It's like, let's just start talking to people that are going to be the clients, and that's what I've done. And that's the way I think about anybody should start a business.
That's right. You build that relationship, right? That's key, right? They're not going to be honest with you about what they're wanting to build, and they're not going to trust you enough, right? That if you're just there to sell them something, then they're going to be pretty guarded, right? Because if I say I have a problem, they're like, well, I have this solution for you. Yeah. And you're like, no, wait, tell me more about that. Like, okay, as you're talking to, I don't know, any business whatsoever, if you have trust with that business owner, you go in there and you say, what are you seeing? What's a real big problem? What's something that is just perplexing you can't seem to solve? And they'll tell you. And if you're able to solve it, then you come up with a very rough, idea to say, well, if I solved it this way, what would that kind of look like to you? You're not talking dollars and cents yet. You're not saying, well, if I solve that problem for you, how much would you pay me? Right. You're going to be like, go pound sand. Like, it's more like, okay, no, can you actually solve it? And then, again, sometimes problems have like sub problems and sub routines that are important, right? Yeah. Sometimes you can't get to the bigger issue, but like, okay, what if I just solve that one problem? do the 80-20 on it, and you say, okay, would that get you 80% of the way there, 70% of the way there?
Yeah.
Chances are it could. Then you make a prototype and you test it out. That person should probably pay you something for doing that work.
Yes.
But maybe not what you could get all in, but enough to maybe cover your development costs or other things. But you start small. And you build it out from there. What it does basically, it shortens the distance between the problem that you're trying to solve and the person who has that problem.
Yes.
Because those problems are going to evolve. So even if you go through that process, you do that and you've gotten a successful sort of solution, and you're now expanding it, that problem might change.
Yeah.
So you got to stay in touch with that person and say, okay, cool, you solved it, but now there's a regulatory change, and now I have a different problem. So you have to stay tight with that client that you're working with.
How do you present yourself to that person when you've never done this before? You've done it in the past because you had a job helping in the admissions process. But I'm thinking about all the people listening that want to have conversations with folks, but they don't have a quote company yet. They've not started this business yet. So this first client is a guinea pig. How do you instill confidence in that person that I can do this? Hey, we're just trying this out. How do you kind of tell them that we're trying this thing out? I'm starting this new thing. I think I'm going this direction, but you're my guinea pig. How do you say that without making them feel like they are the guinea pig, or you just tell them that?
I mean, I think you don't have to put that so front porch, like, hey, I've never done this before, etc. I think people look. They're going to be people that are going to be pedigree oriented, and they're going to look at it and say, I can't even talk to you about my problem unless I know you have some type of background. Right. That's probably, if you're building a business, that's probably not going to be your friend.
That's not your client.
But I take an abundance approach that there's enough people out there who, who feel valued by even you just asking the question.
Absolutely.
You spend more time in the conversation with them, listening to them rather than telling them anything. That to me, you're going to find enough people that are going to value that and who will give you a shot. And you don't need a huge amount. Right. One of the things that people ask us when we were growing, when we had to really ramp up the business, when we went from, we quadrupled the number of clients we did that through, a super fan strategy. This is the Pat Flynn wrote a book called Super Fan, and basically saying you don't need 500 people to buy your product. You need 10 people who will tell everybody they know about your work. And that's we focused a lot on that. So that's what you just need to find those people who really do, who know you, believe you, who value the conversation with you because they know you're going to listen. And if you are someone, it does come down to having some skill in being able to solve that problem. You got to be able to educate yourself. It gets back to the whole idea of educating yourself on being able to solve that problem. But they, and then it's all about delivering. Can you deliver? And ultimately, that's the execution part of business, which is so key. Yeah,
that's so good. All right, so you wanted to talk about earlier about how to scale, and you brought up Pat Flynn. I think it's perfect because I love that book. I love Pat Flynn. So talk about how you went from you're testing this out. You got all these iterations of it. How many iterations did you have before you felt like we've got this thing dialed in?
It's constant. I don't really keep track. It's every day we're changing or tweaking or doing something. Of course. Again, our primary client is, 15 to 18 year olds, and their families. Yeah. And so there's constant shifts and changes. There's constant changes to the admissions landscape. And so while we do have some principles that we do stick to, but no, we're always iterating.
That's good.
I think that's the sort of, I think about that as more the routine rather than the strategy. It's just something we always do.
Yeah. Okay.
So for us, it was about identifying people already in our network who would benefit from our work, from who had this issue or concern. Yeah. Typically we're interacting with parents who both of them work, who are very committed to their families, very committed to their children. They want them to be able to have, an advisor in the process. College coaching, college counseling is a growing business, but it's not one that everybody knows about just off the bat. I imagine a lot of your listeners have never heard of somebody who does this. Essentially what it is somebody who coaches families on, how to identify the right kind of college, to how do you navigate the admissions process, to financial aid, college scholarships. So we started working with those families and, specifically said to them, like, we offered strategic discounts, saying, okay, listen, we're trying to get off the ground. If you like what the work we do, would you please tell everybody, would you be willing to shoot testimonial videos? We were very upfront about it. And those families did. And then they told a lot of people that we knew. We just continued to provide resources, whether it was an ebook or whether it was even just something simple as I saw this article that I knew this person would enjoy. I said, hey, I saw this and I thought of you.
Oh, wow.
And just reaching out to them, just continuing to provide value and staying in that space.
Even post after you've got their kid in college,
absolutely.
Just continue that relationship.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Send them a book. We'll sometimes do little gifts like that. I mean, there's all kinds of little things. We ask them in a survey. We ask students, like right off the bat, like we'll ask them some more deep questions, like what are some obstacles and challenges and things that are going to be important for their admissions process. But we'll also ask them what's their favorite candy and what's their favorite, pastry or bakery item or something like that. Nice. And if something good happens, we'll send them a little, hey, congrats. Here's some gummy bears because we know that's their favorite.
So awesome.
And if you help someone's son or daughter, they want to tell people about it. So that we just focus on a lot of those things that are just the little touches and little details, and of course providing real expertise in the admissions process. So through that, we grew it to a place where I could not scale it myself. My days were full. I was enjoying it, but I just knew if I was going to take this to the next level, I needed to be able to expand it. And at the same time, I was getting, so again, this iteration process comes in play here. So at the same time, I had a former colleague of mine who I worked with at Vanderbilt, who was also trying to start his own business. And he had, reached out to me and said, would you mind kind of coach me a little bit, just give me some advice? I said, well, actually, what if we did this? I said, what if you, and I literally use the word guinea pig, like, what if we prototyped a program for you where you basically come under our umbrella, you can use all of our resources, we'll handle all of your back end. So all the marketing, all of the invoicing, all the businessy back end stuff. Because that's what he was asking about. He's like, I know how to work with students. Like he had already been doing some college coaching. He had done that at a really high level, but just did not know how to grow and own a business. And I knew how to do that. And so I was like, cool, well, what if I did that for you? We'll do a revenue share. But you operate under our umbrella, you get all of our stuff. And he's like, that's perfect. And so we did that. Nice. And so Chris joined our business. He is a huge part of our business now. He now is my business manager, so he runs a lot of our business.
That's awesome.
But we realized that there was actually a market for being able to people who worked like I did in college admissions who wanted to move into having their own business. They didn't want to. They didn't want to work for another company where they didn't get to pick their clients. They didn't get a chance to pick out how they worked with them, and so we basically offered up an opportunity to come and do that, where we basically run the back end of their business and we teach them. So they work, all of them work with Jason to learn how to sort of establish their authority in their environment.
So are they their own business owner? Do they have their own business, or they kind of operate kind of like they work for your company?
They are independent. Yeah, they own their own business, and we established the legal arrangement so that if they ever decided that they wanted to take those clients and move away, that we were okay with that.
That's
and
incredible.
My lawyer at the time was like, are you really sure you want to do this? Like, this is not usually how businesses run. They usually want to lock it all down and make it to where you can't leave. And then there's this. I said no, because again, the whole point is I wanted. We focus a lot on this idea of health and helping students deal better with the challenge of the process and this health-based process. I wanted more students to experience it. So that's my real goal with bringing these folks on, is that they expand that process, they expand that method. And so, yes, I see that as, if what I have then done is help launch this business, who then kind of carries on using our approach and method.
That's incredible.
Great. That
win. Is so cool. Can you tell me a little bit more about the logistics of that? So like, is it, you have your own company, your own LLC, C Corp, S Corp, whatever it is. And so if I was that guy, I'd have my own LLC.
That's correct.
And then, so if I work with a student and they pay me, let's say they just use easy numbers, they give me $1,000. How much? I know it can be it could be set up however you want to set it up, but what would be normal in that arrangement? How much then would I just then pay you because you're handling all this back end stuff for me, my website and all of that? I would pay you maybe $200 out of that 1,000. Or
it can range. It depends on how that client came in. If that client came in through me, then I keep a greater percentage. If it came in from the person, then they would keep it, and that could range anywhere between 30 to 40%. It depends on what that is. And so it could be a situation where someone is keeping 70% of the revenue if they're bringing it in, and that's how that's our percentage because of all the stuff that we're paying for. But it depends on all of that, and it depends on how long they've been with us in the company. We try to keep it simple, but it's built around the idea of like, we're trying to teach you how to grow your own business. We'll help you by referring clients to you, but we're going to keep a greater percentage of that because we can certainly keep that client. But we want to be able to help share to get their name out there. And that's how. So
when you talk about to another client about that, about those types of arrangements, are those your partners, affiliates? What do you call them?
Yeah, they're our partners. They're associate consultants. They're just consultants within our business. They're independent. In many cases, in some cases, they're sole proprietors. In other cases, they have their own business that they're going to grow and eventually, potentially, move into in their own independent space.
Is there any? So this is fascinating that we're having this conversation because we're dealing with something kind of like this right now with our virtual assistant business. So my questions are probably only maybe helpful to me. Sorry, audience, but if I'm a prospective client, let's pretend my son who is 6 is now 16, and I come to you and you decide to essentially hand me off to that guy. Do you say, does he have his own company name or is it also under your name?
Yeah, it's under our name. So
okay, perfect. So there's no confusion as far as like I'm still in my mind, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still working with your company, but behind the scenes, it's separate. Is that kind of more correct?
That's right. So we actually benchmarked this, or it came to this idea from a realtor model.
Okay.
So think about a realtor is an independent agent, but operates underneath an umbrella that has administrative support.
Yeah.
But it's all under the same name, right? So everybody kind of knows, okay, that's Caldwell or Remax, but it's this person that's underneath.
That's
awesome. So that's essentially how it works. Yeah. The
so
idea actually, this is where business ideas like come from the weirdest places. Again, we were having great success, but I was sort of feeling it in terms of like how much it was going to take to actually be able to take it to that next level.
Yeah.
And we were at a wedding and I came across this guy, struck up a conversation. He's at the table and he's like, I said, what do you do? So you normally kind of ask. And he goes, well, I used to be a dentist, but now I help dentists own buildings. And I'm like, what an amazing, that's going to get people to ask about it. I'm like, well, tell me about that. And he goes, well, and you're a dentist. If you're successful, eventually you develop enough capital where you can buy your building and you can, and then rent out the other parts of the building.
Yeah.
He says, but I meet so many dentists that they're great dentists, but they're not great business people. And they don't really know how to do all of that.
Yeah.
And so I help them do that. And then I get a percent of that building and the percent of that business. I'm like, that's it. That's what I got to do. I got to help people build their businesses, and then I'll help them with the things they either don't feel comfortable doing or don't want to do in some cases, but I can help them grow while also sharing with them what we've learned about, helping students manage stress through the college admissions process.
That's so cool. How many people do you have under that type of arrangement?
3 people right now, looking to
Wow.
grow it to 5 by the end of the year, and then we'll see where it kind of goes
I
from
mean,
there.
honestly, it's unlimited, right? It's like,
It is
because you're not taking on
completely.
employees, like these are some essentially they're like commission only sales reps for you.
Essentially, yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's incredible. Wow. So who are the types of people that, because there might be people thinking here, I love working with teenagers. So who are the type of people that you're looking for that type of opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I you need to have experience in the admissions process. I mean, it's clearly understanding how admissions works is a key requisite thing. Sure. I mean, I've heard of people who, they said, well, I had my kids go through the admissions process, so I understand it. I don't know if I really buy all that. It'd be like me saying I know how to be a mortgage broker because I bought a house. Like I don't really get that. Not
right.
Not to say anything about that kind of person doing that. We want people to have real actual experience. And people who are hungry and wanting to grow their own thing. Right. I mean, people who have that background and experience are highly valuable. They could absolutely go and work for a company where they're going to be an employee. And, I think the downsides of that is you don't get to pick who you work with. Right. You don't get to pick the method. You don't get to pick a lot of things, and you don't own it. If you walk away, you're just an employee. And so, so people, you kind of have to have that hunger and want to build something that's yours. And that will be the profile.
That's awesome. So if I'm an admissions counselor in a school right now, could I do this as a side business?
Yeah, well, you can. It just depends on their school. Some schools have, call that a no, that, but sure. we have a person who's doing that, and they've made perfectly fine arrangements. So yeah, it's totally fine.
That'd be fascinating, right?
An individual who.
Go ahead, sorry. I was going to say, that'd be fascinating if I'm working for an admissions counselor, if I'm working for a college right now and I'm a counselor, and the college would be okay with me actually adding value to these prospective families and saying, hey, you know what, by the way, on the side, I do this. I'd be happy to coach you. And maybe the college gets a piece of that. Yeah,
it typically, and again, maybe this is just how college admissions might be a little bit behind, but I think a lot of them would see that as a conflict, so they probably wouldn't want that. They don't want it to appear like some applicants are getting more of an advantage, but in many of these cases, the students aren't. There's so many colleges, man. There's 4,500 4-year colleges in the United States. So there's so many different places that kids can look, and so many different options, and so. We help them sift through all of that. But this being kind of a side business that grows into a full-time business, absolutely. That's what a lot of our folks do. Yeah. Man, Thom, this is so fascinating. I would love to have you back on, just talk about, I feel like you got so much to share. And I thought we were going to be talking about, just your business of getting kids into college, but you have in my opinion, if you ever decide to quit what you're doing now, you have the whole, I feel like so many business owners could learn from your process of how to test things small, try things in a way to, I love this agile development term, to help them be that, and then how to help them scale. This model is so fascinating of you don't need to, if you're entrepreneurial, you probably don't want to work for me by myself. Let me help you build your business. It's that abundance mindset of plenty of customers out there that there's no way that me personally could get all of those families to be for me personally. So let's bring on people who are hungry, that want to help them. And I can help them build a business, and we can serve more people at the same time. And you grow your business in the process. It's brilliant. Yeah. Thank you. No, it's been quite a journey. We're still learning. I think that's kind of the main thing here, is that we continue to ask questions, continue to challenge what our assumptions are, what we thought we'd find when we got there. Maybe we don't. And so that's, it's, to me, this is, as long as we're continuing to stay true to, the people that we serve, which are these young people who are just amazing young people who in many cases are just really afraid of their future, right? They're afraid of what's going to happen in the future. And we can help them know that there's a ton of really good news. There's all these amazing colleges where you can find your path, and you just, with a little extra help, you can go about being confident, not just in this process, but in all the things that sort of look like the admissions process moving forward. That's the thing we try to teach these young people. Like, the world has sort of decided that internships, jobs, even just leadership experiences and community organizations, like, we've all sort of decided that an application process is how it all goes. You share your interests and your passions and your goals with strangers, and then they get to decide what happens. So you can actually get good at that.
Yeah.
And then you can advocate and tell your story in that process. That's when life gets really interesting. And we try to help students know that this is not a big old judgment at the end of high school. It's just another step along that path.
Yeah.
And man, that's fun. That's a lot of fun when it really does hit.
That's so cool. Where do you want people to go online to find you?
Absolutely. So our website is drthom.com, and that's all spelled out, Dr. D-O-C-T-O-R. Thom is spelled with an H, Thom.com. And you can find all the information you need right there in terms of all the work that we do, as well as how to schedule time with me. If you go out there and you say you're a parent and you have a high school student. So we start working with students as early as freshman and sophomore year. Junior year is usually a good time for people to start working with us as well. If you want to work with us, you can do that there. If you go and schedule it, you'll see my face there, and we'll chat about your student and see kind of what we do and what kind of help you need. So.
Love it. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I enjoyed it. If nobody else did, I enjoyed it. So thank you.
Ryan, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Love the work that you do.
Let's have you back on.
And really thank you so much for being on.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
You got it, man. Thanks so much.
You've been listening to Streams of Income with self-help author Ryan Rieger. From right here in the Dallas Metroplex, Ryan teaches several entrepreneurial courses and group coaching programs to students all over the world. Be sure to listen next week at the same time for Streams of Income with Ryan Rieger.